Hello everybody, welcome to another video of the channel. Again, this is Via and my channel is all about movement, psychology, creativity, and community. When I was thinking of starting this channel, one of the things that I want to advocate for is movement. My appreciation for it started as curiosity to join the 10,000 steps a day challenge. And looking back, I had no idea that it would change me in ways that were outside what I had signed up for. In the past, I dreaded movement, hated it, didn't want to participate in it in any way, shape, or form. But now I genuinely believe that movement is one of the greatest privileges that we can have because it gives us access to so many things like community, good mental health, focus, the ability to travel and explore new places. And that's something I don't take for granted. So I thought I'd share niche things that I did to log those 3.7 million steps so you can overcome the most common barriers to consistency. And I'm breaking each one down to three parts. One, an excuse I used to make for myself. Two, a mindset shift that came from doing it consistently. And three, an actual strategy you can use or implement to overcome these barriers. I intentionally chose this format because one thing I've learned in this challenge or in this whole year of vlogging steps is that it's so important to start imperfectly. Messy action is key. Then through action, you will start seeing the benefits, and the benefits are what will change your mindset, and your mindset change your habits. So it's kind of the concept of be, do, and have. Am I right? Am I saying that right? From Atomic Habits. I haven't read the book, but I've watched a wealth of videos. Also, a disclaimer before I start, I want to say again that I will never take this privilege for granted. I know we all have different limitations. Some of us juggle more responsibilities. Some of us don't have access to safe spaces and walkable cities. And some of us aren't even in the mental space to think about changing our lives right now. Privilege of time, location, and mental capacity all come to play when it comes to your movement journey. What I want this video to be is a reminder that in small ways, we can fill our cup by moving our bodies. It doesn't have to be 10,000 steps per day. It can be 20 to 30 minutes because doing those small actions compound over time. The camera died and overheated, so we'll have to bear with laptop quality for now. The first problem I ran into was boredom. I would usually say, what's even the point of this? It's so boring. And I'd like to give you hope because this is at the top of my list for a reason. Personally, it lasted for 2 months only because the thing with movement is that it really shifts something in you. When you do it consistently, you will realize so many things and you will transform in so many ways. And for me, that transformation is the relationship I have with walking. I can't believe that by doing it consistently, I have transformed to someone who looks for movement. As I log those steps, I realized that it's becoming an activity to release things that I was holding on to or things I never even knew I was holding on to. And for me, the mindset shift is that the peace that I was desperately seeking can be found in movement. I didn't have to look far. I just had to sit with the boredom and finally give myself time to think about myself. Because outside of those walks, I was already thinking of so many things, problems at work, at home, and even neuroscience tells us that kind of stimulation is not good for our brains. So allow yourself to be bored once in a while, and you'll realize so many things about yourself. Now, here are my tips to combat boredom. First, you can start pairing your walks with something you already enjoy. You can listen to a podcast, an audiobook. You can listen to a playlist you curated, whatever makes the walk feel easier to start. Next, you can also infuse activities in your walks. I personally enjoy the color walk challenge where you'll just choose a color for the day and you can take a photo or you can just have a look and observe. Another thing that helped with my boredom is having a prompt to think about. It's a similar concept to a journal prompt, but instead of writing it, you just think of it when you're walking. I would prepare 3 to 5 things to think about, and before I know it, I have logged X amount of steps. And I got to know myself better. So you're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. And finally, change your environment when you can. For example, when you're on the treadmill, you can change your pace, you can add variety to your incline. When you're outside, you can change your route. And you can also move in other ways. You can also log those steps through different forms of movement. The next problem would be that it's too cold, or it's too hot, or it's too dark outside. This is more challenging than the first problem because it deals with something that's outside of our control. In my experience, there were days where the weather isn't just cooperating. And on top of that, when my schedule was tight, the only time I could walk was early in the morning or at night. As someone who doesn't have access to a safe space to walk, the fear of going out at night as a woman held me back. But I was really so persistent. And when you walk more, you start looking for it and you get creative in the ways that you can log those steps. Like, I was determined, so I kept looking for alternatives. The mindset shift for me was realizing this. There isn't just one way to get your steps in. There are a wealth of ways if you're just willing to be resourceful. And because I ran into this problem so many times, this actually led me to one of my favorite solutions. There are a lot of step count videos here that you can access and do at home if the weather outside doesn't permit you to, or if it's too dark. These step count videos are an underrated option, and I found myself choosing this form of movement a lot because it's so convenient. Like, I could just wake up and stand up, open my laptop, and start moving. They're fun, they add variety, and they're incredibly accessible. No gym membership, no fancy setup, no pressure to commit to anything long term. Very cost effective too. So to work around weather, timing, or safety, we can start with the lowest barrier possible: YouTube step count videos. If you have more budget or want something more consistent at home, you can purchase a walking pad. If you're ready to commit, you can also join a gym. And if walking at night feels unsafe, you don't have to force it. You can also ask friends to accompany you and turn it into a shared habit. Find what works, stay curious, and find a version of movement that fits your life as it is. The next excuse I used to have is that I don't feel like it. If I'm being completely honest with you, 80% of the steps I logged started with this exact thought. Even now that it has become a part of my life, I still feel that resistance sometimes. It's not as loud as before though, but it definitely shows up. What helped me the most is realizing that I didn't have to rely on motivation. I just simply needed momentum. For me, the simplest solution was just starting imperfectly, one small action after the other. I would wake up, wash my face, brush my teeth, get dressed, tie my shoes, stand up, and step outside. In short, I moved step by step before my brain even had enough time to negotiate its way out of it. The mindset shift came when I stopped expecting myself to show up perfectly and instead made a deal with myself. I don't have to do the full walk, I just have to do 10 minutes. In the times I felt lazy, I would tell myself, Bia, just do 10 minutes. You don't have to do the full walk yet. The 10 minutes became my litmus test because once I'm moving and already warmed up, I almost always just keep going. And if I don't, that's okay too. I give myself grace and move on and try again the next day. The point is, I just showed up and did one action after the other to keep the ball rolling. So when you don't feel like it, here are my tips for you. First is to take it one step at a time, literally. Don't think about the whole walk. Just think about the next action. Just keep bargaining with yourself until you reach your limit. That's so funny to think about right now, but like that's what I did. And it still works for me up to this day. Another problem that I ran into is foot pain. And I learned this lesson the hard way. My feet hurt too, especially in the beginning, because I started way too much too soon. And sadly, this is one of the traps of wellness trends like this. We see people hitting big numbers, long streaks. So naturally, we think it's great to lead with that same type of intensity. Then our bodies pay for it and consistency becomes a problem. Another thing is that the shoes we wear really matter. Once I invested in shoes that were made for long walks, it made a noticeable difference. But more than anything, I wanted to slow down. The mindset shift I got here is that I have to be patient with myself. Our bodies need time to adjust to a new routine. I understand that this is such a good trend to hop on, 100%, but showing up consistently matters more than getting it perfect or suddenly hitting a 10K step streak in your first month. Eventually, through consistency, you'll know your body well enough to tell the difference between actual pain and mental resistance. So to avoid injury and make this more sustainable, I have the following tips for you. First, ease yourself into it. I suggest that you create a schedule that progresses each week. I also suggest to start with time-based goals first. Do a 10-minute walk or a 20-minute walk. Then, after doing those time-based walks, you can focus on the step count later. matter. What matters is that you're progressing and you're doing it in a pace that feels comfortable. Because what I noticed is that when you lead with consistency instead of intensity, it becomes more long term. Next, I would suggest to do a warm up before your walks. I used to run long distance, by the way, and it's important to do dynamic stretching before you start your walks or your runs. After your runs and your walks, it's important to do static stretches. I'll be inserting videos here that you can use and that I use personally to warm up and to cool down. If you can't walk for 5 minutes straight without it hurting, of course, that is a signal to reach out to a professional. The next problem/excuse I had was, I don't even have the energy for this, or like, who even has the energy for this? This one required me to be a little more honest with myself. I audited my life and really looked at where my energy was going. And sadly, a lot of it was being poured to things that weren't really giving much back. In my case, it was doom scrolling. Because I was doom scrolling, I lacked focus, I stayed up late, and I started my day already feeling tired. And at some point, I just got tired of my excuses. And I got tired of repeating the same patterns over and over again. And that's when I focus on the basics. Sleeping before 11 p.m., eating properly, and starting my day with intention instead of scrolling through my phone. The mindset shift for me was realizing this. Wellness is a whole ecosystem that's connected. Your energy rarely comes from motivation alone. It's from building a solid foundation when it comes to your sleep, your nutrition, your boundaries, etc. When you have cemented that foundation, the energy kind of takes care of itself. So if energy is your biggest block, here's what actually helped me. One, I prioritized sleep and made sure I slept on or before 11 p.m. And that alone changed how my body felt the next day. Next, is that before my walks, I would eat a quick digesting carb like a cracker or a banana for quick energy boost. If you're at home, you can also do your steps in segments, sneak in short walks or stretches instead of waiting for the perfect workout window. If you're at work, make movement part of how you function. Park farther, take the longer route, walk to places instead of defaulting to convenience. And when things start to feel stale, you can also change your route, like what I said earlier, because it keeps your brain more engaged. And lastly, my most classic and used excuse, I do not have time. And in hindsight, this is one of the hardest things for me to confront. Because when I looked at my life, especially when I get notifications of my weekly or daily screen time, it didn't fully add up. I had to face the truth that there were days I spent hours doom scrolling, decompressing, or just zoning out, but somehow couldn't find 30 minutes to move my body. And I want to be clear here, this is my personal experience. Having this much time comes with privilege, and I don't take that for granted. Time, mental capacity, safety, work structure, and responsibility will definitely affect our motivation, our focus, our energy, our performance. And I understand that not everyone has the same flexibility or energy that I have at the end of the day. I just like to share that when I took the time to sit with the discomfort, that I was really pouring my time into unproductive things. What helped me was being willing to sit with the discomfort of that realization. The idea that maybe some of my time was being spent in ways that didn't actually restore me, even though it felt like rest at the moment. The whole life audit I did was a good practice to understand where my attention and energy were going and whether those things were really serving me. And when you're honest with yourself, nothing is ever the same. And as I walked more consistently, it became easier to protect even small pockets of time. The mindset shift for me was realizing this. I wasn't actually lacking time. I was lacking intention. I wasn't clear on my values yet, so my parameters were easily blurred. I couldn't protect my energy because I didn't really know where it was supposed to go, or I didn't know what kind of life I was actively trying to build. Once I decided what actually mattered to me, I stopped squeezing movement into whatever time was left and instead built my schedule around it. It used to be optional, and now it's a non-negotiable because I decided that it is. And the more I walk and the more that I see its effects on me, mentally, emotionally, physically, I really can't look back. So if time is your biggest struggle, these are the tips that I have for you. Get clear on your priorities first. And if you decide that movement is a part of that, you have to create a schedule that treats movement as a core part of your day and not just an accessory you add when everything else is done. Next, lower the barrier. You can just do this for 20 to 30 minutes per day. It doesn't have to be 10,000 steps. Again, not all of us have the same privileges, but I'm sure that we have 20 to 30 minutes per day to dedicate to ourselves. It doesn't have to be complicated or perfect to be effective. Before I end this video, I want to say this clearly. I tried my best to talk about getting your step count in a way that has nothing to do with how we look. Because I've started from that place before, and every time I did, I'd end up asking myself why I couldn't stick to it. Later on, I realized that with this mindset, I was starting on the wrong foot. And I also don't shame the people who start the journey with wanting to change how they look, because it's a strong motivator for sure, 100%. But after logging those steps in a year, I can confidently say that what kept me going are the quieter changes I started to notice in myself. Like, I was happy I had more energy, I was sleeping better, I was more focused at work, and I am now reacting differently to things that used to bother me. Those, to me, feel like far more meaningful measures of progress. And for years, I had this question sitting at the back of my mind. This is so cheesy, but I would ask myself, like, do I really love myself? Because I could say it out loud. However, the conviction wasn't there since I didn't really do much to support that belief. This whole journey, though, has confirmed that I really do love myself through showing up, being consistent, and choosing to sit with a little discomfort so I could do something good for myself, even when it didn't feel good at the moment. For me, the conviction comes in the following ways: taking care of yourself in small, unglamorous ways, keeping promises to yourself when no one's watching, and finally, choosing what's good for you even when it's inconvenient. This is the highest form of love that I know. And my hope is that if you choose to start or continue with your movement journey, it transforms you in that way too. Thank you for watching this video. Till we all bloom together. See you in the next one. Bye!